I was diagnosed with lymphedema in my left leg, which is a chronic swelling condition. So where my impairment is, which is in my groin, it causes my whole left leg to swell. My left leg is probably nearly double the size and width as my right leg. Initially, I kind of took it in my stride. As a personality type I'm quite good at doing that, which is great in many ways, but also I kind of just binned it off as it, I was 21 to about turning 21 that summer when I was diagnosed with it properly, and it hadn't affected my life at that point. Jeans were slightly uncomfortable, but I would go on a night out, I'd have drinks, I looked at all the things that people seem to have problems with this illness, and as far as I was concerned, none of them were affecting me. I still played football once a week at university, and still went out with friends. So I went to Southampton Hospital, and I got sent on a little bit of a goose chase, because the knowledge wasn't, especially at that time, it's got better over a few years later, but still not great, of what it was. And I got told it was a sprain, and then I went to go see a masseuse about something different, a different injury, and said, would you mind working on this leg? I've sprained it or something. Would you mind working on the muscle there? And she said, absolutely not. You need to go get that properly looked at. So I then got referred to a practice in Oxford, where they ran a load of tests, and then I got diagnosed. So it was a bit of a lengthy old process when I found a very good therapist, and she had collaborated with one of the leading researchers behind lymphedema. She produced a book. So I was learning all from her and from this book, took it to my doctor, and he was taking notes on the stuff I was telling him. That says it all, really. You can understand it, because there's nothing worse than for a doctor, the amount of people that must come in and be like, look, I think I've got this issue because I found it on Google, and then it's like, okay, it's not that, you've just hit your head, X, Y, and Z. But then, for those cases that do come up when you're like, this isn't right, and I know it's not right, and the doctors don't want to hear it, it can be incredibly damaging for them to have to wait 2 years, 3 years, because by that point, they've lost 3 years of their life that if they had known the symptoms and how to deal with it, they could have got all those hours back. I connect with the lymphedema community, and it just, in certain parts of the country, but specifically on naturally bigger-bodied people anyway, slightly chunkier blokes, would just be told they're fat. One of them will just turn around and be like, right, so I'm fat solely in my right arm, or I'm fat solely in my left leg. One person who was a personal trainer that had developed lymphedema was told by the doctor that they need to exercise more, and there's a good program they could go on, and they were like, I am a personal trainer. I'm aware of how to exercise. This has nothing to do with fat. Actually, it was Butterfly House that did the most for my lymphedema. GPs essentially were like, look, we don't know what we're doing, we don't have the resources to help you, so go to these guys, and then they'll sort you out. And then once that taught me a few bits, were able to measure me up and give me the right compression garments, and gave me the sort of basic do's and do nots, but they were incredibly underfunded for a start, and so their knowledge was limited. There were certain training courses, certain things that they should know that they didn't know, and after a while I started to realise, I'm not saying I know more than them, because I don't at all, but I started to explore alternatives that they should definitely have been aware of, and for them to represent lymphedema in that way, for them not to know it was not good enough. But that is more of a reflection on our healthcare and how underfunded it is.